is the index, but it's also it's most importantly used when we remove the index and we define custom index by yourself, or we change the index into a string value. We're also going to look into that, but let me just finish off with this part. So you see that this statement, the first statement is known as the initialization, and this first statement has a variable inside it. Let me just place spaces, white spaces in between. So this is essentially something like writing this: I equals to 0. So we have learned how to declare and assign a value to a variable. So in this case, the value that we assigned to the variable I is 0. And this is the same thing as we have done earlier. So we assign a numeric value to the variable called homepage. In this case, the program, or we are also assigning a numeric value of 0 to the variable of I. Now remember that your variable name can be as explicit as required, or it can be as short as required. But remember that you should keep your variable name as descriptive as possible, but don't make it too large. Now in this context, the variable inside this for loop has something like I. This is a variable and it has got a value of 0. It is initialized with a value of 0. We are also going to look into this other statements, but let us understand how this is going to work. Now, as I talked about initialization, it means the value, this variable I, in this context, let's just erase this off. This is just to explain how this variable is working. So that variable, this variable perhaps, has a value of 0 initially. So this value 0 will get incremented each time this loop is going to run. Now the concept of loop is that it's going to declare a value, it's going to declare a variable by itself, and it's going to assign an initial value, an initial integer or initial numeric value of something like 0, or you can also assign 1 to it. And then each time the loop runs, or this body runs, this loop's body runs, it ends the running process. When it ends the running process, it's going to get back to this. It's going to get back to this statement, and then it's going to increment this 0 to a new value. Increment means adding 1 to the previous value. So it's going to add 1 to this 0 and it's going to increment it to 1. Then the variable of I is going to have a new value of 1. Now in this context, let's actually change this. Let's finish off the writing first, so that it gets easier to explain and understand. And let me pass in I. So run I until count pages. So let me briefly explain what this count is doing. Let me show you what this is actually doing. Echo count pages, and let me comment the last part out. Let me bring up the browser and let me show you what's going on. So you see, it shows, or it tells me that there are 6 elements, 6 values inside the array called pages. So we can actually count that by ourselves: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this has got 6 elements inside the pages array. So now this count function is actually designed to count the number of elements or the number of values inside any array that you pass into. So I have passed the pages array inside this count function, and then this count function is calculating or counting the number of elements inside this array. So it finds that there are 6 elements. That's why it's echoing out the number of elements inside the array. So let's get back to the concept of for loop. So you see, let me just finish this off. Let me show you the output right now. So previously, when I used the echo statement 6 times to print out all the values or all the elements from this array, I have done that by myself. I have repeated that 6 times by myself. But right now, I only have 3 lines of code, and that's it. The program, the compiler, is actually doing it for me. I'm not doing the calculation. I'm not going into the array. I'm not bringing up the I'm not actually calculating the index. Then I'm not passing that index to the array and printing that corresponding value onto the browser. That entire process is being handed over to the program, and my program is doing the entire calculation for me. It's calculating the index, and it's passing that index inside the array, and it's bringing out that corresponding value and printing that out on the browser. So let me